Divine Grace Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki
Jai.
Namacharya Haridas Thakur ki
Jai.
Krishna Krishna Chaitanya Pavanatnanda Ki Advaita Siddhanta Bhakti ki
Jai.
Shri Radha Krishna Gopal Shyam Kundara Kundara Kirkapadan ki
Jai.
Shri Vrindavan ki
Jai.
Navmaya Puradan ki
Jai.
Ganga Maya Yamuna Maya ki
Jai.
Bhakti Devi Tulsi Devi ki
Jai.
Shri Radha Manohar ki
Jai.
Sharna Baldev Subhadra ki
Jai.
Kauni Thai ki Shri
Jai.
Gaura Premanande
Hare
all
Hare.
close to the assembly
Hare
all
Krishna.
close to the
Hare
assembly
Krishna.
all close to the assembly all close to you and Shri Gaura. meditation. This morning we will read from the 8th canto, chapter 12. Mukti Vivela Shlok Shiva. We will end the chapter today, verses 45 till 47. Would be good to have a microphone. I'm not speaking so loud. Oh, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam. Naram Deva Narottanam. Devim Saraswatim Vyasam. Tato Jamudiyayat. Nastapayesya Bhagavata. Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. Bhagavate Uttamaśloke. Bhakti Bhavanaśtike. Text 45. I will read text 45, 46, and 47. We will repeat together. Maybe we can put 47 on the screen, if it's possible. Seshuka Vacha Iketi Vyatastata Vikhamam Sankaratvana Sindhu Yumatamena Vikhakishi Mahatsala. Sukadeva Goswami says, my dear king, the person who bore the great mountain on his back for the churning of the ocean of milk is the same supreme personality of God, known as Shankardamba. I have now described to you his powers. Text 46. Etanmoho kirtayato nashimbato narishtaketanto sanushama pachit yat uttamasloka gunam samasta samsara parishamgamapaham. The endeavor of one who constantly hears or describes this narration of the churning of the ocean of milk will never be fruitless. Indeed, chanting the glories of Supreme Personality of Godhead is the only means to annihilate all sufferings in this material world. Text 47, which we can repeat together. Asatavishyam angrimbhakam papanam amritam agamabayam asayat sindhu matyam kapatipasivasya mahanyam sugarim tatam pasritanam karuna usmi asatavisyam angrimbhakam yam papanam amritam agamabayam asayat sindhu matyam Kapati Uvati Vishumayam Yasuraris Tadam Pasvitanam Kamapuram Natusmi Asatta Vishyam Angivadayam Pavanam Amritamaravarayam Asayat Sindhu Matyam Kapatayavadi Vishumayam Yasuraris Tatam Pasvitanam Kamapuram Natusmi Salsavishyam Bhavagamyam Pavanam Amritamaravarayam Asayat Sindhu Matyam Kapatayavadi Vishumayam Yasuraris Tatam Pasvitanam Kamapuram Natusmi Asatta Vishyam Bhavagamyam Pavanam Amritamaravarayam Asayat Sindhu Matyam Kapatayavadi Vishumayam Yasuraris Tatam Pasvitanam Kamapuram Natusmi. What is it? No? Okay. Word for word translation. Asatta Vishyam, not understood by the atheist. And to the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of God. Bhavagamyam, understood by the devotees. Pavanam, fully surrendered. Amritam, the nectar. Amaravaryam, only unto the demigods. Asayat, gave to drink. Sindhumatyam, produced from the ocean of milk. Kapatachiva Tivesha, appearing as a false young girl. More young, captivating. Yeah, he moved. Surarim, the enemies of the demigods, come unto him. I, Upasritana of the devotees, Kama Puram, who fulfills all times. Natasmi, I offer my respectful obeisances. Translation and purport by the Vaishnava and Vrinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki. Assuming the form of a young woman and thus revealing the demons, the Supreme Personality of God distributed to his devotees, the demigods, the nectar produced from the churning of the ocean of milk. And to that Supreme Personality of God that glorious fulfills the desire of his devotees, here come my respectful obeisances. The instruction of this narration concerning the churning of the milk of the middle ocean is clearly manifested by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, although it is equal to everyone because of not the affection it favors its devotees. The Lord says in Bhagavad Gita 9, Samam Sarvapsu Nani Destinatya Eva Chanti Tuman Bhaktya Maitri Sadhyaham. I envy no one, nor am partial to anyone. I'm equal to all, but whoever renders service unto me in devotion is a friend is in me, and I'm also a friend to him. This partiality of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is not all. A person cares for his children not because of partiality, but it is implication of love. The children depend on the father's affection, and the father affectionately maintains the children. Similarly, because the devotees do not know anything but the lotus feet of the Lord, the Lord is always prepared to give protection to his devotees to fulfill their desires. He therefore says, Kandya Pavajani Hinami Bhakta Pamashrati, Krishna Kunti declared open, but my devotee never perishes. Thus ends the Bhaktivinoda verse of the 8th canto, 12th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam entitled The Mohini Mukti Incarnation Reveals Lord Shiva. Om Jnana Timandasya Sanam Chakshuramitamena Tasmai Shri Gurave Chichitanya Manavishtam Staptam Yena Bhutadeshtam Ukkalam Dadantishtam Vandhyam Shiva Shiyudam Padakamanam Shivam Vaishnavansham Shiyupam Charichatam Sadamarmadam Tam Sachivam Sadvaitam Sadhutam Paritanasaitam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sangani Krishna Hey Krishna Guna Sundadina Bhantya Prateto Upesha Kokakantana Tapta Krishna Gaudiya Devan Vanashki Krishna Sudadevi Kanamama Pankapatra Vishanti Prasnvi Vishanti Patman Pravanakyo Vaishnavya Namani Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shiva Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare Namo Vishnudev Krishna Krishna Bhakti Swami Namani Namaste Saraswati Gauranga Pracharana Nirvishesha Srinivadi Paskachana Pasatana Srila Prabhupada we are coming at the end of this pastime of Mohini Mukti. The wisdom of Shiva. So this last verses, we have the shortest thought. One who hears this narration of churned dose of milk will never be fruitless. Indeed, chanting the glories of Supreme Personality of Godhead is the only means to annihilate all sufferings in this material world. In this world, we are suffering materially and spiritually. We are suffering. We are materially suffering because of our material lives. And we are materially suffering also because of the reactions of our sinful activities. And we are spiritually suffering because we are separated from Krishna and from his pure devotees. And here is that if we hear these narrations, then that will annihilate all suffering. A strong statement, right? But if we hear about Krishna, then we get to know Krishna. When we get to know Krishna, we become attracted to Krishna. And then we lose our attraction for this material world. This material desires will be gone. And our karma also, just by connecting with Krishna. And the hearing of the Bhagavatam is the most sublime way to become purified. Because the Bhagavatam is Krishna, because the whole thing is Krishna. So that's the process. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Janma karma smignam yogi vitu sattvam chakram majman natmanam. If you know me and my activities, Krishna says you will not take birth in this world. But why is that? How does this happen? Krishna explains in the next verse. Pitraya vayakara manmaya man vashkara bhauto samtam. Many great sages in the past had become purified from attachment, fear, and envy. They had become purified by transcendental knowledge. By transcendental knowledge, who Krishna is. And we understand who we are and what our relationship is. These are the three most important aspects of the Vedic literature. It's called Sambandha Jnana, Abhideya Jnana, Prayojan. Prayojan is the goal. What's the goal? Is developing love for Krishna. Then you get first to know the goal. Otherwise, you cannot develop love for Krishna. Can you develop love for Krishna for someone you don't know? It's very difficult. It will not happen. You must know the person. You must know no person quite well to develop this love. So therefore, Krishna reveals himself in the Bhagavatam. He reveals himself who he is and how he reciprocates with his devotees. Notice in this last verse that he fulfills always the desires of his devotees. Therefore, you have this verse, which is quoted here in Bhagavad Gita, Samam Sarvamucha Name Keshu Chinapriyaha. So he is not envious of everyone, he is equal to everyone. As Paramatma, Krishna is equal to everyone. Everyone. In this material world, demons or devotees. He gives the reactions of their past activities. And that's a fact. We take birth in this material world, and at the time of birth, all our life is already predestined. That all the circumstances we will encounter in our life are fixed. That we can only be in this world the servant of the circumstances that Krishna gives us. That's quite. A devotee knows this. Nothing happens by chance in this world. Nothing. That it's all. But what is our free will then? That's what's in the verse here. Our desires. We can desire what we want. We are free. And we get certain circumstances, and it's up to us how we react. That if we think ourselves as body and the controller, then you make more and more karma. And future bodies and future circumstances. It has no end. And that's a super soul is equal to everyone in those. You get your karma, your reactions according to what you deserve. And according to your desires in this life, you build your future. Then Krishna says, Ye bhajantu mam bhaktya mai dite satyam. But to my devotees, I'm a friend. If you become a devotee, becoming a devotee means I'm going to serve Krishna. I'm going to serve the spiritual master. Then you become connected with the spiritual energy, a different energy. Krishna is your friend. He will give you circumstances which are good for us. He will give what's good for us. He will give us the purification, the circumstances that help us to purify. But it's according to our desire. So the desire, Srila Prabhupada writes in the purport by is material desires is a subtle way of conditioning. Or spiritual desires helps us to the path of liberation. So Krishna consciousness means changing our desires. If we desire the fulfillment of material desires, then we come under the first line. Saman Sarvabhushanani Gracious Vinaya is equal. Okay. You want control, you control, and you get your reactions. You get your reactions. You come under illusory energy. Krishna explains that in chapter 5 of Bhagavad Gita.
5.
Chapter 5. In text 14, it is said, Nakartritvam nakarmani lokasyo chichachi babu nakarmapala samyogam svabhavastu prabhaktate. The embodied spirit, master of the city of this body, does not create activities, nor does he induce people to act, nor does he create the fruits of action. All this is enacted by the material nature. That confirms the point that I made. When it comes to this material world, you get circumstances which are all done by material nature, not by us. So we desire happiness, that I want only happiness in this world, but do you get it? No, many times you get the opposite. So one should not come out of this illusory energy, that everything will be all right. Then the scripture says, I have bad news for you. If you are born in Kali Yuga, means you have a lot of bad karma, and otherwise you don't take birth in Kali Yuga. And that's for all of us. So this is, here it is said, the spirit soul in this world is not the doer. He has created his circumstances in the past. That he has been the architect of all these circumstances, what he gets in this life. And that's confirmed in the 13th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Let's see, 13th chapter. Krishna Kartitve Nakaramani. I think it was 14. It says that the cause of everything in this world is material nature. This material nature. No. Yeah, karma, kartitve, hate, the cause of all material cause and effect is material nature. So that's what also here is said. Akartik from karma. That yes, we are not the doer. All the circumstances are done by material nature. But Pursa Sukhadukanam Bhakti Uchate. The living entity is the cause of the various sufferings and enjoyment in this world. By his activities in his previous life. He is the cause by his desire. By his desire. And the super soul, he reacts. And Krishna says, so verse 14 of the 5th chapter says, we are not we are not in control of this material world. All done by material nature. And who controls material nature? Maya said, if I teach you to say Churchman, Krishna said, I'm the Supreme Presence. He controls material nature as the Supreme Soul. He does that. But in 5:15, Krishna says, now that they kayachit papam nachet sukitam vipu, agananaptam dhyanam tenuyam dhyanta. Nor does the Supreme Lord assume anyone's simple or wise activities. Embodied beings, however, are bewildered because of ignorance, which covers their knowledge. So Krishna says, I am not responsible for all these sinful or wise activities of the That's the desire of God. So Krishna says, I'm not responsible. I created the system, I just keep the reaction of what they desire. So in this purpose, in this verse, he always fulfills the desires of his devotees, but he fulfills also the desires of the materialistic people. But they are under they must get their reactions. But for its devotees, one comes under the material and the spiritual energy. One is directly under the spiritual energy. Now, when you try to become a devotee, Krishna is going to take care of your purification. That's confirmed in 10:88:8, the Bhagavatam, and many other places. Shri Bhagavan Vacha Yashyam Anugrinami Arishe Tattanam Sanai Kalsudam Jam Yasya Spachanadukadukadam. If I especially favor someone, so Krishna says it, how can I see that I get Krishna's mercy? Gradually, I deprive him of all his wealth. I take all his possessions that he's attached to, I take them away. It's like a child. A child is on the beach making a sandcastle, and then the flood comes and destroys it all, and the child starts to cry, and the parents are laughing. But this material attachment, this material desire, Srila Prabhupada explains in the lecture, are childish. Because we are not this body. Why are we attached to give pleasure to this body? That's
what is the verse number, Maharaj? Like
1088.
1080?
Canto 10, chapter 88, verse 8. Yeah. And then says, then the relatives and friends of such poverty stricken man abandon. They think this man has become useless. No money anymore, poor guy, homeless. But, in this way, he suffers one distress after another. So that's what you get when you become Krishna conscious. Krishna takes everything away. But we suffer to never suffer again. Once you give up your attachment by becoming attached to Krishna, your suffering is finished forever. So that's Krishna's mercy. He wants us to give up this childish attachment. Yes. And of course, this is here Mohini Murti. She's cheating the demons. But Krishna is cheating everyone who is under the material energy. Everyone is cheated. Because you want permanent happiness in this world. But it's not possible. So the illusory energy is cheating you. You do this and do that and you will be happy, but it never happens. That it's always a story that ends badly. With that, you lose everything. So therefore, there are these two sides here. Saman Sarvabhuta Namikvesh Vinagya is equal to everyone. Equally under the material energy. But to his devotees, he reciprocates by helping them to make spiritual advancement. And that is his great mercy, that my devotee will never perish. Whatever advancement we make in this life will never be lost. So this illusory energy in this material world has two aspects. It makes you forget who you are. You accept a false identity. And it drags your consciousness down further to passion, to ignorance. And the problem becomes worse. It drags you down, it brings you an illusion. But the solution is man-mano. There are two main principles, instructions in the Vedas. Always think of Krishna and never forget him. And that's what we have to learn, to always connect our consciousness with Krishna, so that we are never forgetting him. As long as we are connected with Krishna, we are under spiritual energy. So you have service, and you encounter so many difficulties in your service. And one may say, why does Krishna just do that to me? But one must understand there may be all these difficulties, but as long as you focus your mind on Krishna, you are connected throughout these all difficulties. And you will become purified as long as you are connected. So these are two energies, Yoga Maya, Maya. So Mohini Mukti takes here the form of a beautiful woman and bewilders all the demons. The demons, their heart changes when they see Mohini Mukti, and they trust her immediately. But I found in Chaitanya Bhagavat, Chaitanya Bhagavat. No, you have the Chaitanya Charitamrita is the first most important biography of Lord Chaitanya. But Krishnadas Kaviraj said the real Vyas of Lord Chaitanya's pastimes is Sri Vrindavan Das Thakur, who wrote Sri Chaitanya Bhagavat. There are 11 biographies of Lord Chaitanya, 11, but these are the two most important. And there I found a passage where Lord Chaitanya is in the mood of Mohini Mukti, that the Lord's prevailing energy. So it's in the Madhya Kanda, chapter 18, Chaitanya Bhagavat, and it was the time that they had night kirtans at Srivas Thakur's house. But many times Lord Chaitanya, he liked to perform dramas that we heard about Bhakti Maharaj and his talents to perform dramas. But Lord Chaitanya liked drama. And once Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda dressed as women. And that's interesting. Just then, Vishvambar, Lord Chaitanya, Vishvambar entered the arena dressed as the original pleasure potency of the Lord Radharani. In his front, Nityananda, as the old grandmother Purnamasi, walked slightly, bent looking astutely about herself. Her whole demeanor exuded ecstatic love for Krishna. The Vaishnava assembly greeted them with loud, jubilant applause. It was impossible to recognize Chaitanya as he had dressed himself very well and looked most charming. The audience saw just two ladies, the elderly lady played by Nityananda Prabhu and the young enchantress played by Chaitanya, but nothing indicated their actual identities. It was too perfect. The assembly tried to guess who was who, but nobody could definitely decide. They started to wonder, had Ram Devi, Lakshmi Devi just now appeared out of the ocean? Or were this Sita Devi, the consort of Lord Ramchandra? Maybe she were Mahalakshmi, the eternal consort of Lord Narayan, or Parvati Devi, the wife of Lord Shiva. Is this the most precious gem of Vrindavan, Srimati Radharani, or perhaps Ganga Devi, or even Mahamaya? Each devotee imagined and guessed without recognizing the Lord. Even persons who had known the Lord since birth were also putting deceived. What to speak of other people being misled Even Mother Sachideva failed to recognize her own son. She said, "This must be Lakshmi Devi herself come here to dance." Sachideva could also not understand who was. The consort and blessed potency of the Lord Srimati Radharani is inconceivable, and Lord Hari, the Supreme Lord, himself was now playing her part. The bewitching form of the Lord's consort and potency had put Shiva and Parvati Devi into illusion. Yet presently, the assembled Vaishnavas did not experience the same effect by the Lord's special grace upon them. The Lord showed his unlimited compassion on all the Vaishnavas like a mother tending her young ones. All the devotees felt that the beautiful consort manifested by Chaitanya was their mother on a visit from the spiritual realm. Their exaltations were unreserved and they forgot themselves. Advaita and all the devotees were swept away on the waves of spiritual bliss in love of Krishna, seeing their beloved Lord dressed in the role of Lakshmi Devi. Vishwambar, as Lakshmi Devi, was the universal mother. As he danced, being overtaken by different emotions, the singers sang appropriate songs complimenting the Lord's moods. The devotees could not discern with certainty what or whose spiritual emotions were being manifested by the Lord's dancing. When the Lord suddenly asked, "O Brahman, has Krishna arrived?" they understood that the Lord was Rukmini Devi, the princess of Vaikuntha. When cascading tears decorated the Lord's emotions, then the Vaishnavas seemed to think that the Lord was Gangi Devi in person. Moreover, when the Lord laughed with ear-splitting peals, they assumed that he was the ferocious form of Mahamaya, Durga Devi. So they couldn't find out. So bewildering, like Mohini Mukti. Good. Any questions? Comments? Yes?
You were saying about this verse in the Gita how Krishna gives a reaction unto his devotees, he acts different. So what happens when, let's say, we're practicing mixed devotion, not pure devotee, but at the same time completely engaged in the pure life? How does it work?
Yeah, of course, Krishna reciprocates according to your surrender. But what should we strive for? We must strive for, I want to quote the verse, the Bhakti Samhita Sindhu. Yeah. Iya Yashari Dashe, Karmana Manasake, Nikalasha Vashkasha, Jiva Mikasu Sate. When we're engaged in the dance and the service of the Lord, in body, mind, and word is considered liberated in all conditions of material existence. So you must engage always with body, mind, and words in service of the Lord. That's the point. And that's surrender. And then comes of a come without it doesn't matter if you are material or you are liberated, it doesn't matter. You will become purified. But that's what we should do. And that's surrender. If you are not doing that, but you are doing that partially, well, sometimes you do, you become purified, and then you have material activities where you become contaminated. Because there's mind involved. So then making spiritual advancement is very difficult. So we spoke about sincerity. That sincerity, you must want to, whatever you do, That goes from Adharkanam. Whatever you do, whatever you give away, whatever charity you do, whatever work you do, Madharkanam, you do it for Krishna, as an offering to Krishna. Your life must become an offering to Krishna. And then one must be that sincerity, wanting to do that. That material desire is no obstacle. But you have to dovetail your material desires with Krishna. You must do it for Krishna. And you want to be rich? Yeah, work to be rich and then give it to Krishna. All your money. That's the principle. Does that help? No? Yes, please.
While you are saying this desire, do we really need to fulfill them, or can we say, no, I don't want, and I want like this? Can we just neglect them or not really fulfill them?
Yeah.
Is this our choice?
That the point is that if you are advanced, you cannot neglect them. If you are not advanced spiritually, it will be difficult. I traveled a lot with Prahlad Maharaj, and he used to say, yes, you have to deal with your mind like you deal with a child. So the mind may say, I want sweets, I want sweets. And you can say, no, I don't give you sweets. Then the mind will become very sour, not easy to live with. So if the mind continues saying, I want sweets, then you give a little sweet. Take a little sweet. And you say to the mind, that's it. So that's learning to deal with the mind. That if the desires are too strong, you will remain under the control of these desires. That unless you are spiritually strong, and that takes time. Therefore, our philosophy is to use our material desires in the service of Krishna. That's our philosophy practically. And that's also what's explained in Bhagavad Gita. Krishna says to Arjuna, your psychophysical nature is to fight. You like fighting, you are a Kshatriya. You want to become a beggar? You become a beggar. Okay, you become a beggar. Then you will hear that Yudhishthira Maharaj is in trouble. Still you will come and fight, because it's your nature. So we cannot neglect that if we are liberated, then we can do anything. But if we are not liberated, we have to do our duty according to the psychophysical nature we have. And therefore, Krishna has established Varnashram and so on. So that's what Krishna says. And we can really not go again what Krishna said. We may try, but we must dovetail our desires with Krishna. The purpose to please Krishna. And engage our psychophysical nature, Krishna's sense. And then we will feel materially and spiritually satisfied. If you are not materially satisfied, thinking of Krishna and spiritual life is different. Therefore, Krishna speaks about having balance and so on. It's important to have balance. Anything else? Okay? Yeah.
Thank you, Maharaj. You mentioned Krishna gives some circumstances, and they will purify the devotee.
Well, not automatically.
Huh?
Not automatically. But, the thing is, you have these it gives these circumstances. It looks the same for a materialistic person. The materialistic person gets this circumstance. He gets frustrated, angry, unhappy, and then, yeah, he suffers, that's all. But the devotee who gets this same circumstances. The devotee thinks not in campam selection, no, chance and calma che campi per campo. Facta proprio Yotadama Namaste Chibekyo Mukti Padesh. Krishna is so kind. He gives me only a token of my suffering, a little bit. And the verse says, if one accepts this karma, it's my fault, I must suffer more badly then you become purified. You are ready to get the information. So the devotee is another approach. The other people think, why does God do stuff to me? But the devotee is not. It's a reaction of my own past mistakes and Krishna is so kind. That gives me only a bit. And it's good because it will rectify that I don't do this nonsense anymore. There's a complete internal different psychology. And you have to go to that's inner contemplation, that's inner reflection, and we become purified. We see those emotions. We understand whatever happens in our life, good or bad, in worship. And that goes together with that point we are discussing today. Understanding that Krishna is our best friend. And then we become free. We give up this tendency to exploit. And become happy by serving Krishna. This is our natural state. Because we can go back to the spiritual world by devotional service. But if we have still material desires, we can't go to the spiritual world because we won't be happy if you want to fulfill material desires. Because we are not material, so we must give it up. But real happiness, the happiness comes from the soul by serving. And we need to have that experience. Satisfaction. Srila Prabhupada writes in a purport, 10:9, that's the first much to much of Brahma. In the beginning stage of devotional service, Srila Prabhupada writes, one must get the satisfaction from the service itself. Learn to be satisfied just by serving and forget about the rest. In the higher stages of devotional service, one gets satisfaction from the ecstatic experience of God. That's another level. But first we must come to the first stage. Should be satisfied with what you're doing. Krishna put me in certain circumstances, and you say to Krishna, thank you, that's what I deserve, and that's what you give me. And I feel completely happy with that. That's fine. whatever situation I'm in. That's neophyte devotees many times they come in contact with Krishna consciousness and they want immediately to change their situation. But they don't know what's good and bad, or what's favorable for devotions and what's not favorable. No, accept your situation and use your situation to make spiritual advance. Yeah. And if your situation has to be changed, Krishna will arrange for that. Please your best. And he will. Many devotees have experienced. Anyway, that helps. Good. Thank you. Last question.
Okay. So Maharaj, like yesterday you spoke about like all the stages of devotion.
Yes.
Yesterday you spoke about all the stages of devotion. Like,
Station.
yeah. So if you see the Bharat Maharaj, like he also fall down because of attached to tea, like at the stage of Bhava level. So even at the stage of Bhava level, Maya attacks you, like Maya tests you.
That this is a deep pastime. Bharat Maharaj was on the state of Bhava. And normally, from the state of Bhava, you don't fall down. It's a very extraordinary situation. That's the first thing we need to understand. It's extraordinary. But he fell down, but his consciousness was not degraded. He became a deer, but he remembered everything. He had still his devotion, his level of advancement. He didn't change anything. And then in his next life, he became Jan Bharat. The same thing he remembered his previous lives. His devotional consciousness was not interrupted. And what is important? Consciousness. We see the external thing. Oh, he fell down, he has a different body. His consciousness was. But, we are the consciousness. Good, thank you very much. Shankara Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Srila Prabhupada ki. Bhagavatam Srimad.
Yes.